Hello and welcome to another Demon 212 Dreamcast review. Today I'm going to be taking a look at Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, which if you've never played it before, the whole point is it was I suppose a bit of an action game. It was a high score extreme sports game. It's also something that I've got two things to very quickly say before I actually start the review properly. First up, I have no idea why they decided to change it from skateboarding to Pro Skater, because the first one was Tony Hawk's Skateboarding, then it was Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. And I really don't understand that. I just don't get why they decided to change it between games. But second up, it's not so much an apology, because I didn't really mess up the last vid. It was partway through I said that if you were into getting them, then the only thing's different is that they didn't have manuals, the older ones. Well, that's what I'd been told with the second one, that it also didn't have manuals. So I didn't realise until I've actually played it to then beat it and then do the review that it did have them, because the whole point was I bought the two of them together, played, beat the first one, did the review, then started to play the second one, realised it has manuals and thought, so the guy was wrong then, who told me that. So I was then wrong because I told you that. And it was after the video had already been fully edited and everything, so I just thought I'd make the apology here, because chances are most people would watch one then two right after. At least that's the way I always do it, because I'm anal that way. So anyway, at the start there's a lot you can do. You've got career mode, single session and free skate, and you might think that they're the same thing, but they're not. Single sessions just basically you go on and you get the 2-minute thing and you don't have to worry about doing the objectives, but you still get the timer. Free skate is just an infinite free roaming thing. You can just mess around, you can learn how to do the gaps or the tricks on parts of the course and that. 2-player is a very fun mode where it's simply 2-player and you compete to get the high score. Create a skater is new to this one, and it's simple, you create your own skater. You've then got Park Editor, where you can create your own park as well, and it's one of those things. When I got Tony Hawk's 3, the first one I actually had of this franchise, all I ever used to do was create my own parks, and me and my mates would just constantly play them. It's just an amazing thing, but I'm not really all that great at creating them on this one, and it's not exactly something that you can share over the internet or anything, so I'm probably not going to go into it. All you need to know is that you can go into Park Editor and mess around with some things. Options mode, you've got your controls for player 1 and 2, you've got your sound levels, your movies, your memory card, they're all pretty much self-explanatory. You've got cheats which you can unlock throughout the game, and oh boy are there a ton of cheats. Quite literally, just looking at a famous website for cheats, I'm counting at least 25, maybe 30 different things you can do, along the lines of holding L, press up, down, left, you know, things like that. And there's all sorts of stuff. There's things for to get your perfect balance, for to make your skater fatter, for your change stats to 9, etc. For your there's just all sorts. I mean, there's an all cheats cheat as well. That's like the record that Gretzky holds for holding the most records. I love those sorts of things. They're just kind of really nerdy. There's a load of skaters that you can get as well, unlockable skaters by just entering names and that, and there's just things that you can do, and it's just insane the amount of stuff that this one's actually got. I do believe that Spider-Man's also an unlockable skater, and I only ever played Tony Hawk's 2 before this on the Game Boy Advance, and he was definitely on that one, and I'm pretty sure he's on this one, but I haven't unlocked him yet. But anyway, I've just realised I have kind of been in that menu for an awful long time without showing any gameplay, which I always get wrong with my brother for that. So I'm just going to simply go into career, and as you can see, there's cash and all that. There's a cash meter underneath Tony Hawk, who I've got selected, and you do go around and you vie for cash and that. You can select a ton of different skaters, and they've all got different stats. This one is much more expansive than the last one, because it tells you a lot more. I mean, last one I think you literally had air, ollie, speed, balance, and tricks or something, which is like manuals and grabs and that. Sorry, not manuals, it was like grabs and flips and that. So you had like 5 or 6 stats per skater. This one, as you can see, there is a hell of a lot more than that. It just means that you've got a better choice of skaters now, because there wasn't really a huge difference between a lot of them, whereas now there really is. Cash can be used to buy things like tricks and stats, and you can go into your skate shop to get new skateboards and that. For now, I'm just going to choose Tony Hawk, not simply because he's the name of the game, but simply because I always prefer playing as people with better air, and Tony Hawk tends to have the best air unless you're playing as a cheat character. I believe I said the same thing in the first one. There's a checklist, just like the last one, of things to do, but there's a lot more to do. So for example, on the last one, you got like 5 objectives per mission. This one, as you can see, there's like 5 and then another 5, and then, yeah, I think there's either 10 or 11, I'm either counting, remembering that my eyesight's pretty bad and I'm having to squint just to even make some of these out. For example, there's one that I believe says Barrel Hunt, and I hope it says Barrel Hunt. I can at least read Collect Skate and the high score ones. There's I've got a Nose Grind something pipe. It really is depressing how bad my eyesight's getting. But for those who don't know, the whole point of Tony Hawk's is, well, it's a bit of everything really. The career mode, as I say, you've got to do these objectives and that. The multiplayer, the whole point is about showing off your techers, because at the end of the day, techers are pretty much what these games are about, because some techers are good, some techers are bad, and some techers, well, they're just unbelievable techers. And the multiplayer was always one of those things that it was great to just have a daft laugh with your friends, to see who was best, to see who could pull off either the most insane trick and actually land it, which is one of the important things, because anyone can do constant tricks. For example, if I just keep bashing the flip button, but I didn't land it, so I didn't get the points. And it was basically a competition between who could do the best trick, who could do the most tricks, who could get the highest score, and it was just insane, as well as also taking turns doing the campaign, or the career even, to basically do the different objectives, because some people were better than others at certain things, and I used to absolutely love playing it with me mates. Tony Hawk's 3, it's the sort of thing that it's a shame that I never got to play this one, because people always told me it was the best, and to be fair, it probably is. I mean, I do really like Tony Hawk's 3, but having played the proper second one, not just the Game Boy Advance port, which obviously was a much watered down version, it's something that I can definitely say that I can see where people are coming from, saying how great it was, and it's just a shame that the HD remake is pretty much a bastardization of the game. It's also a shame that they don't even really make these anymore, because I can't believe what happened with the franchise and the genre as a whole, really, because I mean, coming out with more realistic ways to play and coming out with actual skateboard controllers, it's just like, why? The whole point is these are video games, they're supposed to be video games, they're not supposed to be realistic. The whole point is that you were supposed to do insane outlandish tricks whilst playing as Darth Maul, spinning a lightsaber, doing stuff that you could never do in real life to escape reality, because you can tend to do a lot better things in game that you can't do in real life. And I just hate how realism ruins so many games, and something like this, it definitely did, because since it became more realistic, I don't really think they've made a particularly good one. I've tried a lot of them, and I mean, Skate just done my head in with the whole dual analogues to control your skateboard instead of just button pushers, because on this one you've got the same setup as the last one. You've got the B button, does your grabs, you've got the X button, does your flips, you've got the Y button, does your grinds, and you've got your A button, does your crouching, which then turns into extra speed and also jumping. And it's just one of those things that controls perfectly because of how simple it is. And as soon as they tried to overcomplicate it and make it more realistic, tricks got worse, because all of a sudden you couldn't really do outlandish stuff anymore. It became much more complicated, much less user-friendly. It wasn't something that you could really get around with your mates and play anymore, and the franchise has therefore died out because of it. Quite frankly, since the Pro Skater series, I think I've only actually played one Tony Hawk's game and one skateboarding game period, and for that matter, that I've actually liked, and that was I think it was called Skateland on the DS, which I still remember pretty much beating that game throughout the Return of Zorro that my brother took me to see at the cinema, and I had no interest, so I sat in the back row and just continued to play on my DS all the way through. One of those things, I suppose. But it's just, there's nothing much I can really say about the game or the franchise. It's so simple, it's pure, it's just amazing fun. If you've never played them and you've always wondered the hype, and maybe you've only played the newer games and you hated them, then I definitely think it's worth looking into the older games, because they were just all about insane fun. The career mode is a blast to play. Some of the objectives will have you pulling your hair out until you finally discover the one right way to get it. There's some that you'll fall ass backwards into, quite literally, in terms of a skateboarding game. I have landed many a time on my arse and managed to complete an objective somehow, and while the blood was pouring out of my character. And it's just one of those things that they are just an awesome game. They really are. It was an awesome franchise that peaked too soon, that's then been ruined, and I don't think we'll ever see the likes of it again, because nowadays there is so many things that are just copying everything else. This really was one of the first of its kind. Well, the first Tony Hawk skateboarding game, it was one of the first to really do extreme skateboarding properly, because before that you only really had things like a Skate or Die, I believe it was, and there was a Atari one, I think, that, or Midway one possibly, that was really awkward to play, and nothing had ever really done skateboarding justice until the Tony Hawk's games came around. But other than blathering on more than I already have done, there's nothing else I can really say about the game. Musically, I think the track list is much better on this one, but for reasons of people getting in trouble for using licensed tracks, I won't be letting you listen to any. And graphically, the game is much better than it was in the first one. Gameplay wise, pretty much everything has been improved with this one. Everything, every little thing got tweaked. As I say, the manuals were introduced, which I've just finally pulled one off there. I just realised I hadn't done it. As you can see, there's a balance meter on the manuals as well, so you know how well or bad you're doing. There's still no balance meter on the skateboarder, going over grinds. That was something that, at least that I got right, that was introduced with Tony Hawk's 3. So grinding can still be a little awkward at times, but until you learn how to do it properly. And that's pretty much all I can say then, which I've probably said about 9 times already, but I think this time it's the truth. So there we go then. That's been the review. I hope you found it helpful. I don't score the games because that's based purely on opinion, so instead I'll leave you to make your own mind up. So thanks for watching, and if you've got any questions about the game that I didn't answer in the vid, or that hasn't been answered in the comments, then feel free to ask and I'll help if I can. Also, if you did find it helpful, don't forget to check out my channel, because there's plenty more like this up there, and don't forget to subscribe because there'll be plenty more to come as well. So until next time, this has been Demon212, signing off.